It's the 21st of June, 2024. Good morning to you and welcome to the front page review right here on Voice of the People 96.1 FM. My name is Gesiere Agua. Today in the news, we're seeing the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu returning to Abuja yesterday evening from Johannesburg, South Africa, where he joined other African leaders to witness the inauguration of President Cyril Ramaphosa for his second term in office. President Tinubu, who arrived Abuja around 5:30 p.m., departed Lagos, where he had been since last Friday for the Eid el-Kabir festivities. And the President Tinubu met with Cyril Ramaphosa, the current president of South Africa, to discuss need for stronger partnerships between the two countries. Before the closed door meeting was held, it was held in Radisson Blue Hotel in Johannesburg. President Ramaphosa thanked the President Tinubu for honoring the invitation to attend his inauguration for a second term in office. He says he was very happy to see his brother at the ceremony. And President Tinubu noted that President Ramaphosa's inaugural speech captured most of the challenges faced by African countries and the need for more collaboration among leaders and citizens to provide solutions. The President Ramaphosa was re-elected into office for a second term on Friday. That was last June 14th, following an agreement of the Government of National Unity between the ANC and Democratic Alliance. Well, the president and that's the President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and President Cyril Ramaphosa were discussing stronger partnerships between South Africa and Nigeria. If you've been following the news, you'd realize that the two countries have been the citizens. Some of the citizens of the two countries have been at loggerheads for a minute, but hopefully we get to see a way forward for this particular situation. I think it was 2021 where there was an issue, a scuffle there in South Africa where Nigerians were getting rent reading will actually move away forward aside the reinstatement of Muhammad Sanusi the second as the 16th Emir of Kano State. The court, presided by Justice Abdullahi Muhammad Liman, nullified all the actions taken after the reinstatement. There's a lot of drama in Kano State because Kano government has also ordered the demolition of Ado Bayero's palace. Really, really, really interesting. Meanwhile, the Kano state government, in a swift reaction hours after the ruling yesterday, insisted that Muhammadu Sanusi remained the 16th emir of Kano state, and it also asked Ado Bayero to vacate the Gidan Nasarawa mini palace where he had been living after his removal for demolition as well. Alhaji Aminu Baba Dan Agudi, who holds the title of Serkin Dawaki Baba, had, through his counsel, filed a motion in which he asked the court to restrain the Kano state government from implementing the Kano State Emirate Repeal Law 2024, the Emirate Council law that established 5 emirates from the original Kano Emirates. With all the emirs sacked, the 14th emir of Kano, Muhammadu Sanusi II, who had been sacked by Abdullahi Ganduje in March 2020, was reinstated as the 16th emir to replace Aminu Ado Bayero, who was consumed by the repeal of the law. Well, we're waiting to see what exactly will play out because this power tussle is one that has been brewing for a while. And if you recall, I think it was the NNPP spokesperson who said that the president should refrain from entering Kano politics. Well, could this be some of the influences of the powers that be at play right here, where the court is asking, removing Sanusi as emir? We'll watch and see how that plays out, even though the 15th emir of Kano, Aminu Ado Bayero, has been asked to vacate the premises so his palace can be demolished. The State Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice, Haruna Dederi, said the demolition will allow for the renovation of the palace. Dederi also disclosed that the Commissioner of Police has been asked to remove Ado Bayero from the Nasarawa GRA mini palace, where he resides. We're watching to see how all this plays out. It's just a mess at this point. Like we said before, it's all in, it's a power tussle in permutations for 2027. We get to see how that plays out in just a moment. Meanwhile, leaving Kano, we're moving all the way to Rivers State. The IG has ordered a continuous barricade of the Rivers local government secretariats. The IGP, Kade Egbetokun, has said his men would continue to barricade all local government secretariats in Rivers State amid the ongoing political tensions. He also said the recent controversy surrounding the recruitment of police constables is really appalling, as he highlighted the rigorous standards expected of officers. Egbetokun made this known on Thursday in Abuja while addressing journalists on the sideline of a meeting with commissioners of police and other senior officers. He disclosed that policemen will not leave the headquarters until a court judgment on the controversy over the tenure of the local government council chairman in the state has been solved. Egbetokun said the presence of the police officers is to ensure peace and order and not to intimidate anyone whatsoever. He's reiterated the commitment of the Nigerian police force on the need for preemptive measures to forestall any escalation of violence. This was 2 days ago, where we saw youths who were in support of Fubara, the governor of the state, who went ahead to different local governments, secretariats, and started causing mayhem. Some people were breaking down statues of Enrique at different secretariats, and you begin to wonder, all this for 2027. Meanwhile, there is hunger, there is frustration. Nigerians are going through a lot. I mean, the other in the news, you'd see today the naira is appreciating. Next tomorrow, you see it's falling against the dollar. There's been a lot of drama, especially as regards food security or insecurity, as the case may be. And you begin to wonder, tomatoes, pepper, and all these prices are still on a skyrocket, right? So you begin to wonder if the politicians are understanding why they were put in power in the first place. You have to wonder at this point. Well, we get to see how that plays out. Meanwhile, Rivers has begun preparations for local government elections. The Rivers State Independent Electoral Commission has said that it had begun a process of conducting local government elections in the state, and it was contained in a public notice signed by the chairman of Chief Electoral Commissioner of our River State Independence Electoral Commission, Justice Adolphus Inebeli, and sent to newsmen on Wednesday night. This is barely 24 hours after the Sir Simfabara, while swearing in the caretaker committee chairman for the 23 local government area council, said their tenure would not be long, as the local government elections will be held soon. He stated that, warning the caretaker committee chairman, warning them that their tenure will not be long. As a matter of fact, before the end of today, which was yesterday, Thursday, that there should be a process for the commencement of elective local government chairmen in the state. There's been a lot of arguments, permutations here and there as to the legitimacy of Winke's claims and the legitimacy, not Winke's claims. Now, let's say the local government chairman, the outgoing local government chairman, their case, as well as a Fubara's case in this particular situation. We get to find out what a lot of people are saying about it in a moment. Meanwhile, the federal government has begun a 2.7 trillion naira subsidy debt probe, enlisting the Auditor General for this particular situation. An audit firm has conducted an initial audit, reducing the claims from 6 trillion to 2.7 trillion. The federal government has begun the proposed audit of the 2.7 trillion fuel subsidy claim by the NNPC. However, in the new audit, the government said it had approved the engagement of the Office of the Auditor General of the Federation to verify the claims by the corporation regarding the amount the government owes the oil firm. The process was confirmed by the Director, Home Finance, Ali Mohammed, during the FAC meeting 2024. The government said an update on the issue would be provided during the meeting in May. Now, the Punch had reported last month that the audit would span from 2015 to 2021, aiming to verify the authenticity of NNPC Federation account claims on the 2.7 trillion, while it considered hiring an external audit firm. Looking at this situation, it seems a mess. NNPCL is claiming 2.7 trillion naira subsidy debts owed to it by the federal government. Well, the federal government is arguing as well that it doesn't think that that sum is what is owed to NNPCL. We'll get to find out more when the Auditor General comes up with, a final, maybe an order paper from his investigations. Anyway, let's get into who said what. This particular conversation is on Rivers State. The Associate Professor of Public Law, Rivers State University, Professor Richard Wokocha, he said that anyone that sets himself...
Yes, on the issue of state of emergency, when you said that, I smiled, because the only emergencies happen in Rivers State, the only likelihood of crisis, which I think has been put to control by the end of yesterday, or thereabout, end of working day yesterday, was the skirmishes that were happening at the local government secretariats. And what is the crisis? The men confront the sovereignty of Nigeria by confronting the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and you say such felons, or will be felons, should be considered persons who are fighting some legitimate cause. We should consider crisis to declare a state of emergency. That for me is laughable. A man sets himself against the law. It does not create crisis. There is a felon to deal with, or there is a criminal to deal with for punishment under the law, the criminal code. You are committing a crime. You are engaging in some form of treason. If you take oath to public office, your term is determined, and when that term ends, it has ended. If you insist on privatizing that public office, you are committing a crime. You are contesting the space with the legitimate legitimacy of the course of action taken by the... Yes, on the second issue of state of emergency, when you said that, I smiled, because the only emergencies...
Well, some people are giving him kudos for his statement, Professor. Some people are saying, well spoken, sir. Some people say, this one will teach you law and all that. But we'll get Rufai's standing on that in just a moment. However, Nnamdi Kanu also is in the news, but we'll get to that in a moment. On open grazing. Okay. Trying to find the view. All right, this particular conversation was had as regards the space, Nigeria sending an astronaut to space for having the opportunity to send the first Nigerian to space is a great feat. This is according to Felix Ale, who's the Director, Media and Corporate Communications, National Space Research and Development. And he says getting the opportunity at no cost to Nigeria is a great opportunity as well. Let's listen to this particular conversation.
To congratulate Mr. President for this opportunity and the entire Nigerians, because I would say this is a glorious moment, for us in this country, having this opportunity of sending to have the first astronaut, of our roadmap, the space and program in this country, and we are having this opportunity, at no cost to Nigeria. Right. I think is something that deserves celebration. To answer your question, I would say that across the globe revolve around space science and technology. There is nothing you talk about today that don't have space connotation. And the best way to solve problems confronting humanity is from space. So when you talk of space economy, that is the global thing. Space is the frontier across the globe. And I can tell with our commitment to space program in this country, our problems will soon become things of the past. Now we are here, you are transmitting across the globe. Don't forget that you are making use of a satellite in the orbit.
Right.
So you can be viewed all over the world, in the United States, in UK, in Europe. The instrument powering this is a satellite in the orbit. So I want to tell you that there is not to provide solutions to human problems. And I can tell you that we have a lot to benefit from space science and technology, particularly Nigeria.
All right. Notwithstanding, we have a lot to benefit. That's a given. But how much is this going to cost us as a country? That's what a lot of people have been asking at this point. Meanwhile, Nnamdi Kanu and Simon Ekpa have been in the news for a moment, where the lawyers of Nnamdi Kanu are requesting for an out-of-court settlement. Well, let's hear legal analysts talking of injustice and grievance, and they need to assess these grievances and settle them. Somna Sambo, who is a political analyst, said this. Let's listen.
And, conclusion, at least by both parties. Nnamdi Kanu is saying that the provisions of the law actually provide for a discussion. And if you actually look at Section 17 of the Federal High Court rules, it actually allows for the court to intervene and provide, a ground for some sort of reconciliation would actually lead to an out-of-court settlement. And so if Aloy Ejimako, who is actually the lawyer for Nnamdi Kanu, is actually saying that this could be used to settle this issue, and Ademoyega client, the federal government only asked me to prosecute you, not to actually get into negotiations, then you have to go to the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice to actually put your demand before him, and it's left for the federal government to actually consider or not. So it could actually be a way out of the crisis and the challenges that we have. Because look, Charles, if we've had Bello Bodejo, who is the president of the Mila, association, Cattle Breeders Association, who was charged with terrorism, and he had his terrorism charges quashed recently, why can't we look for a political solution to this? We also had Sunday Igboho, who was having the Yoruba Nation agitation. And I mean, we could see how that issue was taken off. Now, the issue at stake now is why that of Nnamdi Kanu continues to linger. And it beggars to believe, when one begins to see the attitude of this to what is happening in the Southeast region. And that's why sometimes myself and others continue to question the sort of lamentation strategy by the Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, when he keeps lamenting that until Simon Ekpa, for example, the factional leader of IPOB, is brought into Nigeria, that
in Finland.
in Finland, that it can't be stopped and all of that. The issues are bigger than Nnamdi Kanu and Simon Ekpa. These are issues of injustices, grievances. I would have heard elder statesman Chief Edwin Clark say not quite long ago, when he turned 97, that one of the things that should be done is to assess the grievances of the country and see how those issues can be settled through restructuring, through good governance, and for the federal government to give certain powers to the component parts of the federation so that these issues can be resolved. The issue is not necessarily Nnamdi Kanu. The issue is not necessarily Simon Ekpa, but those in authorities have failed to actually take a critical look as to what is making these agitations, secessionist groups to actually spring up, including in the incumbent president's region, over and over.
Yeah,
that's a good point. There needs to be a new strategy, and that strategy is more politically inclined than military inclined.
That's a good point.
We've been wasting bullets, guns, ammunition, and everything, and this issue hasn't stopped. With soldiers being killed.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was the voice of Somna Sambo, who's a political analyst, talking about this issue of an Nnamdi Kanu and a Simon Ekpa, and looking at some of the reasons why agitations have been cut across Nigeria, because it's not just in the southeast, it's also been in the west as well. Agitations here and there, even in the north, there's been agitations here and there, and the reason for the agitations should be addressed, instead of it's like you are shooting you are throwing the messenger out with the message, or throwing the baby out with the bathwater. At this point, the message should be taken and it should be looked at. Why are people agitating? Why is there an issue at the moment? We should be checked. And then, why is the federal government not looking for an out of court settlement a with an Nnamdi Kanu? Why is his own case different? Like he rightfully said, the leader of the Mieti Allah has also reached his own settlement in this particular situation. Why can't we get to the bottom of this with Nnamdi Kanu? Still in the news, Lagos APC is mourning a member as Hajj deaths cross 1,000 naira. The welfare secretary Alhaja Ramota Bankole, her death has been described as unfortunate and shocking. Bankole is one of the Lagos APC women leaders from Ekpe. She died while performing Hajj pilgrimage in Saudi Arabia. The heat wave is one that has claimed a lot of lives, over 1,000 lives, and still counting in Saudi Arabia. And we're hoping to see around 10 countries have reported about 1,081 deaths during the pilgrimage, one of the 5 pillars of Islam, which all Muslims with the means must complete at least once. The figures have come via official statements or from diplomats working on their countries' responses. Well, we hope, and our hearts and our prayers are with those families who have lost someone, to this particular heat wave in Hajj. There's been conversations on this issue of open grazing, and Michael Aundokap, who is a former Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, was talking about free movement of cows in Nigeria and how regulated they are or should be by Quarantine Act. Let's take a listen to what he had to say.
But rights of cows are extremely are talking out of ignorance. There's a quarantine, there's a provision in the quarantine law, which is on the federal exclusive list. Cows cannot be allowed to move freely, cannot be allowed to move into the country if we are to enforce the quarantine law. I wonder why we're not enforcing it. Because there's a potent danger which is recognized in the Quarantine Act. That if a cow comes into the country, it's supposed to be quarantined and test for disease. There's some infectious disease that if cows are allowed to move freely, they can wipe up the whole community. And that is the extent of Quarantine Act. And the law makes the president, that gives the president the power to make legislation, subsidiary legislation. And where the president has been unable to make this, the state governors are allowed to make legislation on how the cows will move. I always laugh. We always want to do new legislation. The law is there. You can use a state governor can use the Quarantine Act, request the president to make subsidiary legislation where he has the where people talking about rights of cows are.
Well, there's been a bill to ban open grazing in the National Assembly, and it passed its first reading, but it's been highly contested by the lawmakers. Some are for it, some are against it. We'll watch and see how that plays out. But at the moment, let's take a break. We'll be back shortly with Rufai Oseni. Keep it locked right here. You're welcome back. This is still the front page review on Voice of the People 96.1 FM. We're live on YouTube, by the way. You can join us. We're live on YouTube at Voice of the People Abuja. And the studio line is 0808 31 286 18. That is 0808 31 286 18. Once again, 0808 31 28618. That is the number to call to be a part of the conversation right here in the studio. We're trying to reach out to Rufai Oseni, but before that, Ondo State High Court in Akure on Thursday nullified the 33 local government development areas created by the late Governor Rotimi Akeredolu in September 2023. The late governor had followed the example of the then Lagos State Governor Bola Tinubu, who created additional 37 local government development areas to expand the council area in Lagos from 20 to 57. Now, in a judgment delivered on Thursday, Justice A.O. Adebusoye said the Local Government Creation Law 2023, which birthed the 33 local government development areas, stood nullified because the late governor signed the law in Ibadan, Oyo State, and not on the soil of Ondo State. Really, really interesting how the law plays. The judge declared that signing the law outside of Ondo State made it unconstitutional, illegal, null, and void. The judge ruled on a lawsuit filed by a group, the Akoko Development Initiative, and 22 others, which declared the creation of those 33 local government development areas by the late governor as null and void. In Ondo State, you're looking at 33 LCDAs which have been declared null and void. All right, we have Mr. Rufai on the phone. Good morning to you and welcome.
Morning, Yasin. How are you?
I'm fine.
Sorry, you're going to be hearing me going. I'm in the middle of lots this morning. Sorry, because you called quite later.
All right.
You're going to be hearing me going back and forth. Please, next time, just make it 7:30 on the dot. I beg you, please.
All right, no problem. We're looking at the court scrapping 33 Ondo LCDAs created by the late Governor Akeredolu just because it wasn't signed on Ondo soil.
I mean, some people have reacted that it's inhumanity to the people because LCDs are supposed to be a path for development and all of that. So I think at some point I'm going to have to look at that again and see what they can do with these LCDs to be able to develop the prospects of the people. As regards the Kano judgment, I think those are the two front runners. The Kano judgment, what it says, it didn't invalidate the laws of the Kano Emirate Council. But all he was just saying was that, okay, there should be punitive actions, because the ex parte order was not listened to. But the ex parte order was only delivered to the Kano State government as a claim on the 27th. That was a Monday. And they said it's should have taken on the 24th. So there's been a lot of back and forth. But why was that judgment even given in the first place? Because the Kano Assembly are taking the case to a higher court. So a case that is already in the higher court of appeal, and you, the federal high courts, are giving the judgment, it doesn't hold water because of jurisdictions. So the case is already being listened to the higher courts. So, I mean, it just shows a lot of bottleneck. And why did that judge have to give that judgment since he's already leaving the lower court to the higher court? So, I mean, these are many discrepancies and all of that.
Mr. Rufai, when it comes to the legislation in Nigeria, when it comes to the judiciary rather, there seems to be a lot of issues here and there. But is it that we're not giving it as much attention as we should as regards shopping for judgments here and there, influences of politicians here and there? Because this is just, it's a mess. It is a mess at this point. What exactly can we do with, judiciary in this case?
It's pure and simple. The judiciary needs a lot of talking to. The justice needs a lot of talking to. There needs to be more punitive measures for all sorts of action and the like. So I think that's just it. I think we've talked about these things at all. These are the things they're going to talk about at NBA conferences every time, photo shopping and all of that. When they still get to do it because the juice and the sweetness of whatever they get as pecuniary benefits outweighs whatever they want to do. So we just need to keep talking to them.
All right, because the kind of government rather, they've ordered the demolition of Ado Bayero's palace, a mini palace that he was staying in, pending, the case in court and all of that. They've ordered the demolition of that particular palace. Is this just to solidify that the 16th Emir of Kano is Muhammadu Sanusi II? Hello. Mr. Rufai,
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Truth is, me, I don't subscribe to that demolition of the palace because in the name of renovation, no. The candidate we should treat that issue properly. Let's not aggravate matters. That demolition is not a right way to go. But let every party just be considerate of the other party. That's just what we are saying.
All right, we'll watch and see how that plays out, because it's even a waste in terms of resources as to how much has been put in place. Why can't you just renovate without demolishing completely? Anyway, moving on to Rivers State. Rivers State has begun preparations for local government elections. That's on one hand, while the IG Kayode Egbetokun has said that his men will continue to barricade all local government secretariats in Rivers State amidst the ongoing political tensions, just to ensure peace.
That only in Nigeria we have police officers and local government executives. Hey, in Nigeria we held it. Our dear native land. Don't try to talk to a divine brotherhood to start. So you can see the funny joke going on in Rivers State. Anyway, Governor Fubara to share part of the blame. They should go ahead and do the elections, settle all of that out, settle all the encumbrances out, and let the state move forward, because we can't afford to allow the people to keep suffering and get them in the middle of all this shenanigans going on in the states. Let's see how it passes out.
All right, we'll watch and see. Rivers and Kano, they're just big states in the news at this point. But we'll watch and see.
And I think the appeal court decision will be made today as regards the determination of the position of
the local government.
The lawmakers that defended local government and other sundry issues in Rivers. So we'll see how it pans out.
All right. Let's move on to Kaduna State. Protesters are marching in Kaduna and they want the EFCC's probe of Rufai 423 billion naira indictment. Mr. Rufai, I think we had talked about this earlier as regards media trial by media, and we're seeing protesters storming the Kashim Ibrahim house in Kaduna, calling on the governor to invite the EFCC and other relevant security agencies to prosecute.
All of those are just theatrics. All of those are just theatrics. The protesters, then you see that the protesters will just protest and nothing will still happen. They are just theatrics. They are just mudslinging. It's political now. If they really have the empirical facts, they should invite the EFCC. They don't need to protest on the streets and let the EFCC do the work against them if they have their facts. But if they don't have their facts, they just go ahead with theatrics. It's just theatrics. Let's not be deceiving ourselves.
All right, we'll watch and see how that plays out. Kaduna State is also a very, very interesting state in terms of development and monies coming in that should have been there in the first place. But we'll watch and see how that plays out. Meanwhile, the federal government has begun the proposed audit of a 2.7 trillion naira fuel subsidy claim. Auditor General of the Federation to verify claims made by the NNPC regarding the amount of money that the government owes the oil firm. Initially, it was said to be 6 trillion, but upon engaging an audit firm, it was reduced from 6 trillion to 2.7 trillion naira. Mr. Rufai, this fuel subsidy issue is one that has put us in further debt in a lot of issues that we shouldn't have even engaged in the first place.
And that's why we're not even getting it right, because we are still telling lies about fuel subsidy. That's why we have also increased the number of deaths in the country. Only God knows what is going on in NNPC. Anyway, as regards NNPC matter, I've always called for a proper audit that will lead to a rejigging of the system as regards NNPC. So if they are ready to do it, the better for them. If they are not ready to do it, it all falls on them.
Mr.
So if we keep maintaining a very faulty political status quo, that's our challenge. Yes, sir?
I wanted to touch light on something that we probably haven't talked about. Seeing the minister of petroleum resources at the time was the president Muhammadu Buhari. During his tenure, we saw a lot of issues that were left unanswered. For example, the methane that came into the country that caused a lot of issues. We saw a lot of fuel queues were on what was on an all-time high during that administration, right? We saw a lot of issues that played out during his tenure. Was it that what exactly is the role of the Ministry of Petroleum Resources as regards the NNPCL, especially with the PIA coming into fruition?
I mean, as the PIA coming to fruition, that's another. You see, the convoluted nature of our oil business is one of our biggest albatross in this country. So people have done silly everybody's take over, like the NUPRC and all of that, to regulate the downstream and the upstream. But it's also problematic. This was the same NNPC that claimed that now they are going into business just like any other entity, but they are still highly subsidized by governments, one way or the other. So you see, it's a very clear case of a lot of confusion in the system, a lot of brigandage, a lot of impasse, a lot of chaos. And once we don't get our systems right, we can't get a nation right. Trust me, we can't get a nation right. Yes. Yes, yeah, I have to leave early today. Thank you so much. Please, I'm in the middle of a lot of things.
No problem. No problem. Thank you so much and have a good day.
Bless you.
All right, the number to call 0808 31 28618. That is 0808 31 28618. That is the number to call to be a part of the conversation this morning. In Kano State, we're seeing the state attorney general and commissioner for justice saying that the demolition will allow for the renovation of the palace, and they've ordered the demolition of the palace of the 15th emir of Kano, Aminu Ado Bayero. The court has also there's been a lot of discrepancies concerning the court case in this particular situation, whether as regards the nullification of the reappointment of Muhammadu Sanusi the second. Well, we get to see just what plays out in Kano State, also in Rivers as well. The legitimacy of the State House of Assembly members, as well as the extension of the tenure of the local government chairman, is still in court as well. We get to watch and see how all that plays out, while the IG has still ordered the continuous barricade of Rivers local government secretariats as well. Still in the news, the federal government has begun the subsidy debt probe and enlisted the Auditor General to check that out. And in Lagos State, no fewer than 37 deaths have been recorded in the current cholera outbreak. It has hit 30 states, including Lagos and Ogun State. And in a statement on Thursday by the Director of Public Affairs in the State Ministry of Health, Tumbonsun Ogunbanwo, has said that the state had recorded an additional 6 deaths due to cholera as against the previous 15. So once again, this is a call to you to be very, very careful. Wash your hands. On no account should you put your hands in your mouth unwashed. Wash your hands. Okay, it's really important that you do so as well. We'll go ahead and pay some bills. We'll be back in a moment. Stay tuned. You're welcome back. This is still the front page review on Voice of the People 96.1 FM. Just to reiterate, we are live on YouTube at Voice of the People Abuja. Voice of the People Abuja. We're live on YouTube. Go ahead and follow, like and share, as well as you can join the conversation live in the studio. Our number is 0808 3128 618. That is 0808 3128 618. Now we've got Mr. Larry Oguego on the phone this morning. Good morning to you, Mr. Larry, and welcome.
Good morning, Jesse. Good morning. So how are you today?
We're doing good. It's Friday, and we're hoping that the news is actually quite calm this morning. We're hoping that we have a peaceful weekend. But before we get into all that, let's check out Kano State. I mean, it just keeps, I don't know, keeps getting better and better, for lack of a better phrase to describe this. Kano government has kicked against the court's removal of Sanusi as emir. What exactly is your take on this?
Well, it underscores the fact that our politicians don't have respect for the rule of law in terms of how they relate to the courts. As a matter of fact, I've noticed the trend. What happens is that anytime a judgment is dished out by a court, anytime that the judgment is pronounced, different parties, especially politicians, interpret the judgment to suit them, and then they go ahead to basically carry on in ways that will serve their interests, especially if they have the political and financial muscle to do that. And that's what is happening in Kano State, which is unfortunate because it is the political elite that destroyed the respect that all of us should have for the judiciary. But that's not what we are seeing now. If you go to Rivers State, the same thing is playing out. You have court judgment, people give it spins that suits them, and then continue as if the courts are there for decoration. Incidentally and unfortunately, they run to the courts to get judgment when it suits them. And if they get judgment that serves their purpose, they will jubilate and then expect everybody to comply. If it doesn't serve their purpose, they will kick against it and give it a spin and interpret it in a way that suits their intentions. But that's exactly why our democracy also is not working. One of the reasons, because the rule of law is one major leg on which democracy is supposed to stand. And as long as we don't respect the laws of the land and the pronouncements of the judiciary, we have a problem. And as long as the judiciary also doesn't earn the respect that we expect it should have in a democracy, we also have a problem, because the judiciary should also, like Caesar's wife, be above board, so that they will not only command respect but earn it from us.
Is that even possible at this point? Because what we see every other day is shopping for judgments from one place to the other. We see,
yes, we shouldn't give up. We shouldn't give up. You know, life is in cycles. After a boom, there's a bust. Then after the bust, there's usually a boom. Look at the global economic cycle. Life is in cycles, basically. My grandfather Ezogego said in Igbo language, no tak or the enjoy them. After a long time of things being bad, it usually gets good. And it's natural wisdom, and that's how it happens. That's how even God created the weather cycle. You know, after winter, when people are lamenting about winter, what do you get? You get summer. You get you pass through your spring and you get summer, and the sun is everywhere. Then suddenly winter comes upon you again. So let's not give up. That's the worst mistake we can make, to give up on Nigeria. A lot of people have given up. That's why we're even here. Some people see Nigeria like a sinking ship, and what they're doing is to take valuables and abandon ship. Some people are even vandalizing the ship. But the only thing that can save Nigeria is that we all sit in that ship and begin to rescue the ship from sinking. So once we become despondent, then it means that we have given up on our ship, and it will sink invariably. In fact, the reason we are struggling with this ship now is because many Nigerians have given up. I have not. So don't give up. It is possible. You know, you made a comment that triggers this comment, my trajectory. We can't give up. You'll be surprised that one person can come and begin to turn around the judiciary, either from inside the judiciary or outside. But we shouldn't give up, because if we give up, that person may not even have the courage to start that process, because we are not ready for the teacher. The Asian said that when the students are ready, the master appears. If we are not ready for the master may never appear.
All right, let's watch and see, especially with our judiciary, and hopefully we see better with this new 60 million naira as as salaries for the justices. We're hoping that at least we'll see a little bit of normalcy returned to the
I don't think the
judiciary.
salary will cut it, but that's a question for another day. It's not about throwing money at our problems, no. These things are, the issue with the judiciary is a deep-seated problem, especially including intervention from politicians. It's not something that you can change by giving them money. If you give them 10 naira, the politicians who corrupt them offer them 100 naira. If you give them 100 naira, they'll offer them 500 naira. And the person who has a corrupt mindset, a corrupt disposition, will take the money if you increase the price. I think we need to create a system where there will be consequences for bad behavior across the board, not only the judiciary, everywhere, and where we should remove some of the powers we invested in the Chief Justice of the Federation. I don't understand how he can be everything, including the chairman of the National Judicial Council. I don't understand why everything concerning the judiciary, anything they do, you say, oh, we should go to NJC. So they sit in judgment against their own, in the case of their own misconduct. So what if, like we had with the other CJN, that but we've had two CJs recently that allegations were made against them. One was removed by Buhari. And then the other one who had allegations from his colleagues. So who sits in judgment at NJC? The same person you are having allegations, 11 allegations against. We need to be serious in this country. The problem we have is not throwing money. It's not money and salary alone. We need to go to the foundation of our problems. We don't think about our problems. We throw money at everything. And it has not worked so far. After the Dodge Award, did Nigeria change? It didn't change. People still go to work late. People still don't take their job seriously. So what are we talking about? This money won't cut it. They should go and reform the judiciary. They should sanction all these judges that give injunctions in the night. They should punish them severely, not casually. But what we get is a slap on the wrist, occasionally, because maybe we are shouting all eyes on the judiciary. But we should do better.
All right, let's move on to Rivers State. Now, the IG has ordered a continuous barricade of the Rivers Local Government Secretariat. Now, a lot of people are talking about the influence of the police in all of this. Why were they even needed in the first place? As regards the fact that there's a court case ongoing, and I think before the end of today we'll get a judgment as regards the State House of Assembly members, the legitimacy of the State House of Assembly members, and then the tenure of the local government chairman as well. So there's just been a lot of permutations and speculations as to the influence of the federal government in the state, because we know that the police will not move except others from above.
Well, my position is very simple and very straightforward on this matter. The police have a duty to actually provide security. They are supposed to secure lives and property. So if there is a chaotic situation like we have in Rivers, they are supposed to get involved. But I do not accept that they should shut down. If I understand the meaning of barricade, well, it means that you can't freely go in and come out. My expectation is that the police should be there to provide law and order, to protect people who have legitimate business at local government areas. The local government staff should be able to go to work. And then the most senior person could take over. But in the second time, where the governor has appointed someone, it's not the job of the police to interpret the really and say, oh, we are sitting in judgment and we are saying this person shouldn't also gain access. I think the police should provide security. They have a duty to do that. But if they barricaded the space to the extent that people can't go in or come out, that is wrong. Because it means they are shutting down the local government system in Rivers State. So the police should tread cautiously. A lot of people are suspecting that this is happening because Fubara appointed persons and swore them in. So this is probably one way of frustrating those persons from taking office. But I don't think the police should go to that extent to enforce law and order. They can enforce law and order without barricading, but I don't know what barricading means in this circumstance. If you want to take it literally, it means that they have sealed off the space. But I hope they are not doing that. Not yet. I mean, it's not that chaotic. If people come to fight, dislodge them. If people come to cause mayhem, manage them. Give the right people access. But if it gets to that point where you say, no, this person won't get entrance because you are not legally appointed, it's not their duty to decide who is legally appointed. I'm not discussing whether Fubara was right in the appointment or not. I'm just saying that we need to define powers properly and stick within our mandate as institutions. One of the problems we have in Nigeria is that we abuse authority, we abuse power. And one of the things we also do is that when the other party abuses his own power, we also abuse our own. So we say, oh, you appointed people. We don't think we should. Okay, let's see how they will get in that we abuse our own. So we have a downward spiral of people just taking advantage of whatever powers they have to get what they want. And that is actually the fastest way to slide into anarchy. And that's where Rivers is already headed.
All right, let's now look at the legitimacy of this caretaker committee, the caretaker chairman that was sworn in by the governor. A lot of people have been arguing that constitutionally there's no place for a caretaker chairman, especially looking at the fact that from one election to the next, that's how it's supposed to go.
Constitutionally, we don't have, it's not an argument. The Constitution doesn't provide for the caretaker in a local government system. It's like appointing caretaker governor. It's actually the third tier of administration in our political structure. And the Constitution provides for elections. One strategic move that Fubara would have made, which is what he's trying to do now, would have been to start planning for this election earlier. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, maybe distractions and all of that, he didn't. But the law does not permit for caretaker to take care, as it were, of local governments in our constitution. In a circumstance where there is a problem like there's no election, we should look at the best way to interpret the constitution and get the best solution, which could be normally when there is an incident, hand over to the next in line administratively, which he actually at some point before he appointed the caretaker. But let's see how it plays out. We see there are some things we shouldn't be arguing about. Governors are like emperors in Nigeria. I've said it repeatedly, and I'm not the only person saying it. They behave like emperors. In fact, that's the biggest problem we have. If we can whittle down the powers of the governors and our president and balance their democracy, people whose words are law, people who control the wallet of a state unilaterally. So all the other institutions that are supposed to actually do oversight on the governors, they are academic. Like, you know, okay, look at Rivers now. Where is the State House of Assembly? How many percent? Go to the other states where they are ostensibly functioning well. What do? They are basically in the pockets of the governor. You know, in Enugu State, the Labour Party members suddenly started jumping ship because they had influence based on their numbers. Somehow, miraculously, most of them jumped ship. And then today, the House is still in the pocket of the executive. You have the same story everywhere, practically in every state. If any speaker coughs, they impeach him the next day. So we don't really have a democratic nation. We're even trying to learn. We haven't even started learning. And until we manage governors and their excesses, we won't make progress. I have said it repeatedly, and I'm not the only person saying it. Others are saying it. You remember there was a time Obasanjo said, oh, we're making a lot of money from it. Let's create a sovereign wealth fund. Which other nations are? They said, no, it's not constitutional. It's not in our constitution. That share the money. You share the money, want our money. You can't keep our money by force. They even went to court. How many times have they gone to court in the interest of the ordinary Nigerian? Governors go to court only when you touch their money. That they went to court. And apart from money, they don't ever discuss anything in the interest of the common man. So we need to begin to think about how to manage these people. That's a governor's problem. We have to take another look at it. It's a cartel that we have to decide how to manage. Because at the end of the day, they are just practically destroying our attempts at having a democratic nation.
All right, so we'll watch and see how this struggle in River State will play out, because we know that when it comes to River State, it's the biggest. It has such power, especially in conquering the Niger Delta states all the way to Igbo land. Whoever rules River State has the entire Niger Delta, when it comes to population, market, elite, skilled labor in the region and all that. The oil and gas capital of Nigeria, we know that Abuja will always listen to the governor of River State. So that's why there's this tussle here and there. But hopefully we get to see it being squashed finally. Moving on to another headline here. Federal government has begun a debt probe, 2.7 trillion naira subsidy debt probe, and has enlisted the Auditor General to help in this particular situation. First of all, when NNPC is claiming that the federal government is owing it 2.7 trillion naira as regards subsidy, it's just the figures when it comes to NNPCL as regards oil, how much we produce in a day, how much the landing cost of oil. There's always discrepancies with this particular sector. Is it going to continue being like this? Because it just seems like the PIA was just brought in to enhance or continue the discrepancies in that particular sector.
The challenge we have is that almost everything we do in that sector is opaque. In other countries, they know real time what they are pumping, what they are selling, the amount of crude oil, the number of barrels of crude oil they are shipping every day. They don't get the figure 1 year after or 6 months after, every day. And it's not rocket science. The equipment and the capacity to do that is available on the market. Nigeria can also know. But because there are some people who are bent on destroying this country and its economy, on making Nigeria prostrate, what they do is that they make it impossible for us to have basic information, because we are discussing all these things, or this, that, because they don't want people to know. They don't even want institutions to know. Sometimes even government is not sure how much we are selling. So we need to go and find out what is it in this NNPC limited that is impossible to fix. Because even after the change of name and the PIA, it's still the same problem. I've not seen any significant change, if any at all. It's just to them. I'm just ashamed. Because either they are clueless or they are just outrightly incompetent or they are wicked, whichever option. If that is, I don't understand how we can find ourselves in this situation. Because the idea of paying a price is that after you pay the price, you get the goods you paid for. My expectation is that if you go to hospital and they say, oh, you have appendicitis, we are going to operate on you, you pass through pain for some time and then you feel good. Then the other pain disappears. That is the lesser pain. Yes, the surgery inflicts serious pain on you, holds you in hospital for some days. But the expectation is that after some weeks, you come out hale and hearty and you say, thank God I did this surgery. I'm better now. This country is a place where you submit yourself for surgery, they'll cut off your stomach and leave you in hospital forever. In fact, you have a bigger problem than the one you had before you went to hospital. That's what we are suffering now. Because Baba, the Oga has been telling us, that this is like this, it's like bad pants, it's like just motivational speaking. We don't need motivational speaking now, we need results. What we need in Nigeria now is results, not speaking and platitudes. And when you speak like that, one would also expect that your body language should be in alignment with what you're telling people. We are passing through difficult times and you're buying yacht. We are still passing through difficult times, starting your bed harder, you're buying private jet. We are passing through difficult times, you're building new house of vice president. The times are very hard. The Senate president is queuing for his own house. Child, we don't know what to do. We're buying cars of 165 million. This is just it doesn't add up. It is that same OPEC NNPC limited. It is that same culture that gives them the leverage to do what they like with our money, that is making it impossible for us to know what is happening to 2.7 trillion, what is not happening. We have always had stories about the NNPC. Now it's NNPC Limited, and nothing is going to change until the politicians in charge are people of integrity, people who are willing to provide leadership and not rulership, people who are willing to serve the people and not serve self-interest, people who are willing to make people enjoy the dividends of democracy and not take away the basic amenities that they were even enjoying before in the name of reform. You know, until we get politicians who think straight and who have a heart to be a blessing to the people they lead, we are going to be telling the same stories. So whether it's NMPC or whether it's Bete Dues Ministry, what do they call it again? All of those, the stories will keep coming. It will keep coming until we decide that we are not going to tolerate the kind of politicians we have anymore.
Mr. Larry.
Whatever you tolerate, whatever you condone, you cannot change. And that's the problem with Nigeria. We are condoning it. We are tolerating them.
Now, before the president came into power, he boasted of technocrats, people who are result-oriented. Those are the people he was going to put in at the helm of from different MDAs, right? This was one of the things he was talking about in the build-up to February 2023 elections. Now we are having him as the Minister of Petroleum Resources, and he went ahead to get Heineken Lokbobiri as Minister of Petroleum Resources Oil, and Ekpe as the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources Gas. Now, is it that these individuals are not seeing Saudi Aramco and all the other big companies out there for different countries who are oil producing nations as well? Because the amount of money Saudi Aramco alone is boasting of as revenue coming into the country alone is enough to blow one's mind.
Well, the challenge we have is that we don't have the intention they have now. It's about your motive, your intention. You know, it's not rocket science to make NNPC Limited the beautiful, one of the finest oil companies in the world. That's what they've been telling us. But these things are easier said than done. You see, the motive is fundamental. I've always told people that if you're doing anything, check the motive. For instance, a person who plays politics with the motive of getting into power so he can travel and enjoy life will never be a blessing to the people. A person who gets a job with a motive of earning salary, that's the primary motive, will not succeed. Now, those motives may be deep-seated. The person may not even know that they are there. So the average Nigerian politician speaks so eloquently on television that sometimes you begin to wonder, so where are the people who damage this country and steal our money? Because some of the issues of motive, they don't even know that all these things they say, oh, we want to do this, want to do that. That's not, if you go deep inside, you see the motive. So when you talk about Saudi Aramco, you see these are people who understand what they want to do with their resources. You are talking about Saudi, look at the Kingdom of Dubai. Look at United Arab Emirates generally. Look at Qatar. Money. These are places, at least that same Dubai, those places, there was a time they were looking up to Nigeria and looking to get money from us. Today, we are actually being treated like pariahs because we are useless to them, practically so. So we need to get to that point where we also examine the motives of the people who get into power. And not only their motives, but their capacity to get things done. They are competent, but most importantly, the moral compass they have. You know, you can have capacity, you can have competence, but if you don't have integrity, the carpetbaggers will hijack you. So the problem of Nigeria is multifaceted. And let me surprise you, it's the same problem that is manifesting everywhere, in every sector. When you come to think about it, it's the same problem that is holding your NNPC Limited. Problem of corruption, greed, very, very skewed and dangerous motives, and all of that. So you can't give what you don't have. It's not about what Saudi is doing. It's about who did we hire to try to do what Saudi is doing. We hired the wrong people with the wrong motives, so they will never be able to do it.
All right, Mr. Larry. So what's the way forward, especially with our oil sector?
You sound tired and discouraged, but
I'm not discouraged. I'm just
you
exhausted
are
at this
wanting the way
point.
forward. You see,
Yes.
the way forward is that you see, I've always gone back to the people. The people say, "Oh, Nigeria as a nation must get good leaders," and I ask, where are the good leaders going to come from? There's a reason I always speak about people. I agree personally with Chinua Achebe that the problem with Nigeria is simply leadership. But we misinterpret leadership to mean president, governor, senate president, chief judge. That's not the only leaders we have. When you expand the scope of that statement that the problem of Nigeria is leadership, it means that the problem of Nigeria is how we manage leadership positions across the board. How do I mean? Have you noticed that when politicians want to contest for elections, they reach out to faith-based organizations and talk to their leaders. They reach out to market unions and talk to their leaders. They reach out to all places where people have influence. After all, Maxwell said that leadership is influence. Now, when we begin to have leaders at other levels of leadership who understand that they have a responsibility to use their power well, we can more easily stop people who have the wrong motives from becoming governors and presidents and legislators. And when we have citizens that are responsible, who behave well, who not only talk about a great nation, but are willing to invest in giving birth to that great nation, they are more likely to refuse to tolerate bad governance. That's why I'm always asking citizens to wake up. The truth is that it is people who allow even rigging to happen. It is not the politicians that rig elections. It is not the children of the politicians. It is ordinary people like me and you who complain after the rigging. They will rig, then after the rigging, they will complain. Then the next election, rig again. And my pain is that the people who rig the elections usually don't benefit in getting the money. They don't enjoy the corruption. They just see it happen. The people who carry ballot boxes and destroy ballot boxes don't get near the seat of power. They do it for their masters. And at the end of the day, their masters will loot Nigeria dry and they'll just be complaining. So we need to open the eyes of people. Radio stations, television stations, social media influencers, faith-based organizations, anywhere people gather, we need to talk about this Nigerian project and raise a people who will not tolerate bad governance and corruption and all of this not happening to us anymore. And when we make a personal commitment to stop tolerating these things, what will happen is that they will stop over time. But as long as we condone and tolerate these things, they will continue to happen. And one day we'll not even be able to discuss it because we're on a downward spiral. There's a stage you get to look at Rwanda now. You're talking about Rwanda. Look at Nigeria. We had our own civil war. And then look at Rwanda. When these things happen, people pretend that nothing will happen, that somehow God has been nice to Nigeria. We get to the edge of the precipice. God will just stop us from falling over. It has happened too many times. One day we may follow. We need to wake up.
Mr. Larry, thank you so much.
It's not a laughing matter, but don't be scared. Just let us all wake up individually, make a personal commitment. Ask the average Nigerian, what sacrifice have you made for Nigeria? I'm not talking about the president kind of sacrifice, so I'm not discussing that. You that is complaining about president, if they give you inflated contract, won't you take? When you write proposal, do you write the actual amount? Let's call it spade a spade. What is the interpretation of blessing to a Nigerian? You steal money, you go to church and give testimony, you go to your fellowship or whatever, wherever you worship, and give something to your Baba and say, God has blessed you. It's not God that blessed you, it's the devil. When Nigerians rise above these standards, when our own personal commitment to good governance shows in our daily conduct, things will change. But until that time, we are just talking. And they say talk is cheap. Guess it, don't worry. Nigeria will be fine one day. We are still falling. We hope now start getting up.
We hope that one day will be sooner rather than later. That's the hope at this point.
It's up to us now. It's up to us. If we all commit ourselves to making it work, it will work. But if we are talking about making Nigeria work, while we are sabotaging the same Nigeria through our actions, through our daily actions and activities, it will not work, because they say action speaks louder than words.
All right. I think that's enough food for thought for our listeners today. Hopefully they get the message, and then we come out with, for lack of a better phrase, a renewed hope. We come back with that on Monday. Thank you so much, Mr. Larry, for your time.
I guess I hope you have not joined them.
I'm on the fence. I'm always on the
I hope
fence.
you have not joined them. But let's just hope that we are all listening to the voice of the people, and do have a wonderful weekend. Don't worry, Nigeria will be fine. God is interested in Nigeria, but we shouldn't leave to God the same job He has given to us to do. Let's just